Hey, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Nate, can you hear us?
I can now.
Thank you.
So what's happening?
And Nate, we can just barely hear you
Is this better at all?
a little bit.
Oh man.
Say something, Nate.
Hello, this is Nate.
That's much better.
Thank you.
That is okay. I just closed out some programs or some windows. Maybe it was just jamming up.
Okay, thank you.
And for those in attendance tonight, we are waiting for another commissioner, so we have quorum. So hopefully they arrive and are not detained.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Wheeler.
I think this is the time you're supposed to fill this dead space with jokes.
Nobody wants to hear my dad jokes. Commissioner Smith, you want to say a couple words just to make sure we got you loud and clear in chambers?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 15th, 2023. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff from the city attorney and clerk's offices, as well as the city planning department. If you're joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting, however, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take any questions until the public testimony portion. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. And with that, let's begin with the roll call. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Wheeler,
Here.
Commissioner Lorcher. Here. Commissioner Smith
Here.
and Commissioner Seal.
Here.
Absent are Commissioners Grace, Rivera, and Stoddard.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. The application for Fairview Apartments, file number H 2023-0001, will be open for the sole purpose of acknowledging the request to withdraw the application. Will be open for that purpose only. So if there's anybody here tonight to testify for that application, we will not be taking testimony on it. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have two items on the consent agenda. First is approve the minutes of the June 1st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We also have the findings of facts and conclusions of law for file number H 2023-0014 for SWIG. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved. Or second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'd like to explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant is finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called on only once during the public testimony. The clerk will call the names individually of those who have signed up in advance to testify. You will need to state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you have previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on the screen, and you will run the presentation with assistance from the clerk if needed. We have established that you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA where others from that group will allow you to speak on their behalf. You will have up to 10 minutes. After all those who have testified or after all those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite any others who may wish to testify. When you are finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers or be muted on Zoom and no longer have the ability to speak. And please remember, we generally do not call people back up. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant is finished responding to the questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing and the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make final decisions or recommendations to the city council as needed. So at this time, I would like to continue item number H 2023-0011 for Coal Valley Christian School. And we will begin with the staff report.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, you'd like me to go through the report. I went through at the last meeting. I can certainly do that. The reason for continuance was solely for getting the ACHD report, which has been received by the city and is part of the public record.
That is exactly right. So, and it should be how I should have presented it. So thank you for reminding me of that. And this is open, or this was continued to this date to basically discuss that portion of the staff report or the report or the file, I should say. So.
Yes, that's the way I remember it too.
Okay. So we do have the ACHG report as part of the public record. So I would invite the applicant to come up and speak to that. Good evening, sir. Need your name and address for the record.
Wayne Thalas, LKV Architects, 2400 East Riverwalk Drive, Boise, Idaho. Amber Van Oker, who presented previously, is at a previous obligation tonight, so I will be speaking on behalf of LKV Architects. Want to mention, as we did before, that there are others in the room that can respond to questions as may be necessary. That are above my pay grade. We have Alan Howlett, Superintendent of Coal Valley Christian Schools. We have Sean Connor, representing the Land Group, our civil engineer and landscape architect. And we have Sonia Daleiden, who is with Kittleson, our traffic engineer. As staff mentioned, the draft staff report from ACHD has been received. As we indicated, we thought was going to be the case at the last meeting. It tracks very closely with the traffic study that was done. There are no significant deviations. We and the design team have gone over it exhaustively. And we are basically in agreement with the findings and the recommendations contained in it. It should probably be mentioned that there are a few gray areas, largely because of some remaining coordination that needs to occur between ACHD and ITD, and also related to some scheduling questions and uncertainties at this point regarding Highway 16 and exactly where that's going to be in the process as it relates to the timing of the school and the improvements that will be required of Coal Valley Christian Schools as part of this project. If there are any detailed questions about either the traffic study or ACHD's report, I'm going to have Sonia with Kittleson come up and address those. But I just want to reiterate for everybody's benefit that the design team and the owner do not object to anything that the staff report includes or recommends as conditions of approval related to the road system going forward.
Okay, commissioners, do we have questions? If not, I can kind of lead off here. I'm glad that we waited for the ACHD report. Some of the information that was in there, as well as what was relayed earlier, was essentially the portion ITD needing to basically build that road. It sounds like that's something that's in the works, but not a done deal. Is that correct? And I mean, whoever wants to speak to that. And the reason I ask is because, I mean, even the wording in the ACHD report says, if that doesn't happen, you got a whole nother fish to fry here. So there's a lot that cannot happen as a result of that not coming in.
I'll just make this introductory comment to that question, then let Sonia continue. The staff report lays out several scenarios that could be pursued and that they are in agreement with, depending on what may or may not happen with ITD and particularly ersatz, which is the road that they are to build along the east side of the property. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the staff report, in agreement with the traffic study, indicates the type of roadway, the type of road section that ersatz has to be. We fully expect that the portion or the amount of that road section that ITD has committed to build will be completed prior to construction or at least completion of the school. And it will just basically be a matter of Coal Valley Christian Schools and their contractors completing any aspect of that road section that ITD does not complete. So it's not a question of it not occurring. It's just the school will pick up where ITD leaves off to make sure that that road is completed in agreement with the requirements of the staff report. So I covered it.
So if ITD doesn't do it, then what? I mean, that is one of the scenarios, correct? ITD does not do it.
A very unlikely scenario, but it's already been engineered by ITD. They're in the final stages of acquiring the necessary right-of-way at the intersection of McMillan and Ersatz. And we actually are, as we speak, trying to get a meeting scheduled with ACHD and ITD to get down into the details about timing and other technical aspects of what ITD is going to do, and thus what Coal Valley Christian Schools needs to do.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions?
Commissioner Seal.
Right ahead.
So you mentioned that you were in agreement with the things in the staff report. Does that include the pathways and street buffers to be constructed, or is that still excluded on the perimeter of the property?
The only gray area related to those pathways has to do with McMillan, because we don't control all the right of way along McMillan. In fact, we control the smaller portion. But there's no question or issues with the pathway requirements associated with Hawaii Storm or Ersatz.
Okay, because from the written testimony from Amber, it had said on the staff report previously that she requests not to be required to extend Oahe Storm and Ersatz and the associated sidewalk pathways and street buffers to the northern boundary of the annexation area, just to the northern boundary of the school site, consistent with the revised phasing plan. But in the staff report, that's what they do want you to do, is to extend that out. So are you saying that Coal Valley Christian is prepared to extend it out at this point, or you still want that exclusion?
Well, we did not have the staff report when Amber made those comments previously. The school still feels that and would still like and will be talking to ACHD about this, extending the road to the farthest driveway accesses to the site and possibly stopping there as opposed to going to the
Property line.
northernmost boundary of the site. But that's one of those details that need to be discussed with them. We've already mentioned it to you in the previous portion of the public hearing. But we're not certain what benefit is to anybody to go beyond those northernmost driveways, though we do understand the city's policy with regard to wanting those roads to be built to the point where subsequent development can tie onto them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that was the other question that I had. I mean, and it's more than policy. It's the city has no way to enter into a trust to ensure that those roads, should Coal Valley Christian School close, for instance. There's nothing that says that those have to be created at, at a later date. So the only way to ensure that is to have them built first. Mr. Wheeler, Commissioner Smith, do you have anything else? Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
The thing that I keep coming back to, and it's kind of what you alluded to right now, is the lack of teeth that we have to ensure that that roadway gets developed at the very, those purple roads on the screen. I guess, this is, I guess, a question for staff, thinking through, and I apologize if I'm rehashing something that I've forgotten from the last hearing. My understanding of what we were kind of considering last time was, completion of those roads prior to occupancy, which would be in phase one, like the staff report. Is there any way for us to enforce or require completion prior to occupancy of the area of phase two? That, I guess, occupancy of a specific portion of the property. Because I think I still think, even if they're not building it, if ITD is building it, it needs to get built in some way, to some extent. And so I'm just curious about what the specifics are of what we can't enforce when the kind of those that, occupancy and things like that, are that final sign off is that for the entirety of the property at once in the completion of phase one, or does that happen at phase two as well?
Chairman, Commissioner, yes, we could hold up their certificate of occupancy on the second phase of development for the school for those improvements if you choose.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Right ahead.
I guess I'd pose that question to the applicant. I know the goal here is to allow you to save some capital and not spend that up front until you kind of need to. I guess, there's some need to kind of meet in the middle. I think of, trying to make it obviously workable for you, but also not, leave the city in a bind should, something happen. Would that be an amenable kind of, compromise, I guess, if you will, that still lets you, complete phase one and have that capital free to do so, but still, helping to ensure, whether it's ITD, whether it's ACHD, whether it's you, just ensuring that is built, by the occupancy of that phase two structure.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. I'm looking at the phasing plan that was submitted. And in this phasing scenario, the building might come after other infrastructure and site improvements, specifically athletic improvements. Is the question being asked of the applicant whether the applicant is agreeable to complete both roadways per ACHD requirements to the northern boundary of the 48.48 acres prior to a certificate of occupancy for the building, which is what our exhibits identify as phase two? Is that what's being asked, that we could proceed with phase one, possibly without all those road improvements being completed, but prior to occupying the building and getting a certificate of occupancy for it, the roads would need to be completed to the northern edge of the 48 acres?
Mr. Chair, that is my question, and again, with the ITD component, it is a question of not necessarily you constructing them or the applicant constructing them, but ensuring that they're constructed. Whether that is, you work that out with ITD, based on the ownership and what lengths they go to. The goal is, the question is, would you be amenable or agreeable to ensuring that full construction is done by the occupancy of that building in phase two, or that's currently in phase two.
We can't answer the question definitively because a large part of the decision-making here is going to be ACHD. But certainly completing the roadways to the northern edge of the 48 acres, not the full 70, is more agreeable to Coal Valley Christian Schools than completing it to the northern boundary of the entire parcel. But again, ACHD may weigh in and feel differently about this. Sonia, do you want to comment?
Mr. Chair.
Right ahead, Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, to clarify, my position and my kind of leaning at the moment, based on previous conversations and kind of the updated staff report, I'm inclined to. I have a strong desire for some way to ensure that the full 70, the road to the north, to the entire north of this parcel, including that purple highlighted road on this exhibit. So I think you're referring to as the full 70, to ensuring that is built while the city is able to do so, while the city is able to actually enforce something that ensures that gets built. Because as the chairman said, there comes a point after occupancy that we don't, unless there's some requirement to ensure that this is built prior to our sign off, the city sign off, there becomes a point where we can't control, if Coal Valley moves to a different site or something like that, or some other scenario happens in which Coal Valley no longer is interested in building that road. We need to ensure that there is a way to make sure that road gets built. And so that's my question is not so much about whether it's the full length or partial length. I'm inclined to, I want to see a plan that includes that full length and kind of something more definitive for the construction or ensuring of the construction of that full length. My question is more about timing that would be workable and not overly burdensome to enable the applicant to do so while still ensuring that there is adequate capital, not expending capital too early in the development that could be used elsewhere. I'm trying to find a way to kind of meet you halfway and say, okay, we won't, maybe if we don't require the entire construction during phase one, is there a point at which it becomes more agreeable to still ensure the full construction, but at a later date prior to full occupancy, while the city still has the ability to sign off on something? And that's my question. And if staff wants to, comment on, I guess different events or different points in the timeline in which that could be possible, or if the applicant, it's a question of are we able to still, delay this, push this back somewhat for you while still ensuring that it actually happens.
Bill, you want to address that? We kind of addressed it last time, but a rehash of that is probably worthwhile.
Well, thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I'm happy to chime in on this topic because as we talked about 3 weeks ago, it is an important topic, and that's why we continue this item to get ACHD's comments. In looking at ACHD's staff report, I agree with some of the findings of the applicant that it appears that ACHD is only going to require the roads to be stubbed to the boundary of the school site and not the entire 70-acre site, which gives staff, the city, some concern because this site is 70 acres. It's not 48 acres. And so that's why whatever we do here, we want to make sure we capture that in a development agreement, because again, to Commissioner's point, we want to make sure we need to have the timing and the threshold for that. So as I was listening to the discussion and looking at this phasing plan, I agree with some of the commentary from the commission that it doesn't make sense. Well, with the way they're phasing the project, phase one, there is really no structure. So it's kind of difficult to hang them up on a certificate of occupancy if they're just doing a ball field. There's nothing there to hold up. But to your point, I like the theory and the idea of holding up occupancy on the school building until such time as these things are done, because that makes a lot of sense. And it's pretty consistent to what we did with Owyhee Storm High School, or Owyhee High School, I should say. So I think we can get there. Now, what I'm going to propose to the applicant is at least for the western side of the road, I mean, I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later. It needs to happen with second phase. That's where we can hold up occupancy. What I think we all agree on tonight's discussion is ersatz and whether the timing is there. So to me, I think we can say, we can put a phasing or timing on that roadway, and also put another caveat to that. This says unless otherwise already constructed by ITD, because until we have a conversation with them and get them to the table as to when this road could be built, it may be built before the school even gets started. And therefore, yes, do this before occupancy of the school, or unless ITD has already constructed that portion of the roadway. So again, ITD is committed to doing that roadway. They have to construct it as part of that road improvement, the State Highway 16 expansion. So we know it's going to happen. It has to happen. But again, as we discussed it last hearing, it's all about timing. The applicant testified at the last hearing that city utilities won't be available for several years either. So now we're talking about utilities, timing of roadway construction, and then trying to get it all to align. It's a pretty complex scenario to try to make it all work and get it right. And so again, if it's something that the commission wants to do this evening, I think, at least from staff's perspective, I like the idea of prior occupancy of the school building, or a portion of that building, phase two, however you guys want to have it in your condition. At least Owyhee Storm has to be constructed to the northernmost boundary. And then as far as ersatz, I think we can be a little bit more flexible on that, because we know it's a timing thing. It's either the applicant does it or ITD does it. And as long as we make it flexible for the applicant, I think they would be more amenable to that. I'd also mention to the commission that staff is also going to meet with ACHD next week to get some clarifications on some of their conditions as well in the staff report, and make sure that we're all heading into the city council hearing aligned, just like the applicant is. We want to make sure we get a lot of these things buttoned up as we move through the hearing process. But those are my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair.
Right ahead, Commissioner Wheeler.
So just so I can recap kind of what I'm hearing here, because there's been just a lot of, seems like roundabout discussion. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding it clearly here. We can basically take care of the need for stubbing in the streets to the north through a DA agreement if we make a condition upon occupancy. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. That is a great Reader's Digest version of it, but yes.
Okay. Okay. And if that's the case, then we can also let just ITD go ahead and, whenever they're able to build the road, and they do, and what portion of it that they do, that's what it is. And that way the school doesn't have to pay for more of what the city was already, or ITD, the state was going to go ahead and pay for.
I'm looking at Bill.
I'm-
I believe what you're saying is correct. Yes.
Okay. So, that's something I'm amiable for. That's something that I'm in support of. That sounds to be kind of a reasonable thing. And then some of these things can be ironed out as the city talks more with ACHD, just to get some clarity on that and make sure that there is a meeting of the minds. ACHD's intent is met, the city's intent is met, and the understanding of the applicant is of what's going to happen, and what they're saying is clear. So we just remove that ambiguity. That's something I'd be in support of. I do have a kind of a different question here, though, for the applicant.
Mhm.
So Wayne, just a question here on last time when we met, we talked about the phase one where the road on the east side just stubbed in at the very entry there on the southwest corner of phase one or the southeast corner of phase one. And that's because, and then that blue was going to be for phase two, but that's also part of what ITD might take care of or not.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wheeler, we're talking about the east side of the site, ersatz, is that correct? Because that's the road that ITD is committed to building.
Perfect. Okay.
Is that right?
All right.
Is that the name? Your
Ersatz, yes, that's exactly what I'm understanding too. Okay. So that makes sense for it to just kind of stub in there. And then the landscape buffer, that was one of the things that we talked about too. They're on the future development of running from the western property line along McMillan Road to the entry. That was something that the applicant, just for sake of saving funds and things of that nature, was suggesting that not happen. But there was some conversation about that being able to actually occur. Are you guys fine with going ahead and putting in that landscape buffer and barrier there along on the north side of McMillan Road?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wheeler, the applicant, Coal Valley Christian Schools, still questions, at least from their perspective, the logic of doing so when it doesn't likely will not extend the whole distance from ersatz to Owyhee Storm due to right-of-way acquisition issues, and doesn't connect or won't connect to any significant pedestrian circulation aspects of the school proper. All that said, ACHD has indicated that they want that portion done, and the city does. So we're not going to jeopardize approval of this annexation and rezone over a pedestrian pathway and landscaping. We just made our request earlier in the public hearing at the last meeting. But we're not going to die on our sword over that issue.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, sir. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Was anybody in chambers like to come up and testify on this application? I'm not seeing anybody. I don't think there's anybody online. I don't see anybody raising a hand online as well. If there's nothing further to add, we will move on to close the public testimony portion. Is that okay with the applicant? Okay, indicating yes. Take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0011 for Coal Valley Christian School.
So
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0011. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Yeah. I'll kind of lead off here. So here's the first thing I'll say. If this were anything but a school, I'd be a hard no on this. Absolutely, 100%. Timing doesn't work. The function doesn't work with the road problems that we have out there. And when you read through the ACHD report, it shows in there for nearly every single intersection, clear over into Black Cat and McMillan and Black Cat and Ustick and places like that, where it shows in 2025, it's going to be over the threshold, but here's how you mitigate it for that intersection or for this intersection. Meanwhile, the road lengths in between, there's no mitigation for that. It's already a mess over there. The traffic study is based on 2021 findings. You know, we're in 2023 and there's been a lot of growth over there. The city is still learning a hard lesson from putting a high school over there. I live in that area. I have to deal with that every day. So thank goodness it's summer. But that's kind of where I'm at with it is I don't want to say no to a school, but at the same time, I just don't think the timing of this project works. There's just too many unanswered questions. There's too many things that are going on that coulda, shoulda, woulda, might, maybe, should, you know, there's too much of that going on with this. So I would love to see this go in, but I would love to see it happen when there's, you know, when there's very solid, or there is commitment legally from ITD, as well as more completion of the State Highway 16 project, as well as some of the other road improvements that are going to happen out in this area. Because I can tell you right now, it is a mess. So as far as the project and what the school is offering here, I think it's a, you know, I kind of question the layout and some of the traffic circulation, but I'm not a traffic engineer and I can't tell you how, you know, there's 1,000 ways to do that. So my son goes to a school where traffic is, you know, horrible. So it seems like that's an issue at kind of every school for, you know, a couple of times during the day. But, you know, happy to see that that Coal Valley Christian School wants to continue to develop in this area, to expand in this area. I'm very excited about those things. I'm just not excited about doing this project in this location at this time. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wheeler, go ahead.
I have, so my background is that I went to Nampa Christian, and so obviously I'll be voting no on this. No, I'm just kidding about that. That's just a joke. But no, my education has been through parochial schools. And so I understand the fundraising side. I understand the building side. I understand the the difficulties on the timing and all those kinds of things when you don't have, when your funding source is largely donations and very good stewardship of such donated funds. I'm of an opinion that I think if we could move forward with a DA agreement that would settle out some of the things that were discussed, I think it's something that might be able to have a win-win, as long as that DA agreements, you know, mitigate some of these concerns. I like the idea of the school being there. I'm with you though, Mr. Chair, that, you know, traffic concerns are a priority and an issue. I do see that they're trying to grow and get a large campus that will be a long future home for them, and in the growth and in the path of growth. So I see those things and I'm like, this is a well thought out plan and idea on it. So for me, with some of that sympathy from my upbringing and education, and understanding that, I think we can mitigate a lot of these issues, or at least put safeguards, I should say, for some of these concerns in a DA that might help with everything from the traffic to the roads and everything else like that. And I agree with you too. If this was not a school, you know, I think the hearing would have been done last time that they were up in front. But I think that's why I'm in support of something like this, as long as we can put in a good DA parameters.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Lorcher.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I I hate being the person who shrugs his shoulders and goes, well, this is tough, but it absolutely is. I'm partially in agreement with you, Mr. Chair, that this is, if this weren't a school, this would be quite an easy no. But I think there's, when different applicants come in and there's different testimony around the disruption that construction creates and the disruption that growth creates, et cetera. Part of the understanding is that yes, sometimes this is disruptive, but in the long run, it is the benefit to the community, is worth it. Now, you kind of get into a balancing test with that, and there I still have some unresolved questions around, around timing, around commitments, around traffic flow, et cetera. I will say I tend to agree a little bit with Commissioner Wheeler of if we are able to nail kind of a DA and word it properly, make it hit the right items, then a lot of my concerns are still there, but they're much, they're lesser. My issue is I still don't know if I know enough to know what kind of nailing a DA is looks like. And so there are some aspects I think ersatz and Oahe Storm we've identified some of those possible outcomes, but are those the best outcomes around timing? You mentioned timing around utilities, utility availability, and things like that. And this location, I think in the long run will this can be a strong location for the site. I think where I agree with you the most is just around the timing, and I don't know that I have an answer to that, but I just want to get some of those thoughts out there. Partially thinking out loud and partially kind of calling into the void for help on some of these things, specifically around timing. Seeing if anyone has any ideas around that. But yeah.
Commissioner Lorcher, go ahead.
I actually like the phasing of this so that the sports opportunities are ahead of the school. You are severely limited in what you can do over at your location at Carlton. My kids went to Meridian High School and they never were in a school that wasn't under construction. So I understand how education can be challenging. Like Mr. Wheeler, I was in parochial school my entire school, but it was all girls, so we didn't have sports back then. But anyway, I live in the impact area of Highway 16, and there is movement, there is development, it is happening. I think they still have some right-of-way issues that they have to resolve. I've become very friendly with the project manager with Highway 16, and I feel like they will do what they said they're going to do. So as far as timing is concerned, that's really on the applicant. When they're building their building and all that construction's happening at the same time, and your population will know that at that time, and they can make those choices if they want to get involved in that traffic or not. So like the other commissioners, I support the phase 2 occupancy for the motion. And but at least in the next year or two, we've got a very generous place for the kids to play sports.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wheeler.
So commissioners, can we just possibly talk through what would be a win solution for us to include in a DA? It sounds like part of it would be occupancy being held up until the roadway on Erstad is extended. I don't know how to say that to where the blue line is at on this picture. I don't know how the right verbiage for that. Is that something that we're all in agreement on?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, just Commissioner Wheeler. So my understanding of what the conversation was and kind of where I landed was that occupancy of that school building being conditioned upon the construction of Oahe Storm through that purple line and the construction of ersatz unless otherwise constructed by ITD. So the full purple line, not just the blue line, prior to occupancy of the school building.
Okay.
The idea is also just flexibility of who builds that ersatz specifically.
That's my understanding as well, is the occupancy would be contingent upon the completion of those two roads. And the verbiage of that for ersatz to include whether that be done by the occupant or ITD.
Can I give it a go?
That's okay.
Absolutely.
All right, you can correct me if I'm not doing it right, but let me give it a go. After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I recommend to approve to City Council file number H 2023-0011 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 15th, 2023 with the following modification. All detached sidewalks, multi-use pathways, and street buffers along public streets, McMillan, Oahe Storm, unless already constructed by ITD, will be completed before granting a certificate of occupancy.
I'd second that.
Did you include Oahe Storm and ersatz?
McMillan, Oahe Storms, and ersatz.
Okay, does the second still stand?
Yes, and I'm just clarifying too, when you're saying occupancy, you're talking occupancy of the high school.
Correct. I don't think they need an
Building.
occupancy for the sports areas because
Well, they have other buildings on site, and I just wanted to just double check on that, but that's the main one. I want it just to be very clear.
okay, so we can say certificate of occupancy for the the school, because it's more than just high school.
Okay. Yeah, I would second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of the City Council file number H 2023-0011 as presented in the staff report with the aforementioned modifications. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I am a nay. But the motion passes.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wheeler, go ahead.
I just want to make one extemporaneous comment here to the Superintendent Allen, and just wanted to thank you for your stewardship of the school through its many decades in existence, and how there's been a long chain of people that have supported the school, its education, and what you're doing. And I just want to just acknowledge that and say good job. And I hope that that what's gotten you this far will continue to move you forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler. All right. Thank you, everyone, for getting through that one. All right, now I'd like to continue the public hearing for file number H 2023-0007 for Costco Development. My outer, as you
Thank
say,
you,
you
Mr.
looked at me like
Chair.
I'm out of sync here.
Members of the commission. You don't want to continue the hearing, you want to open the hearing, the continued hearing, correct?
I thought we had continued this before.
It was a continued item, yes. I'm sorry, you're
Am I okay?
through me. We'll go for
Okay.
it.
I have said things incorrectly before. You are correct.
All righty, so we have the conditional use permit before you tonight. This site consists of 17.2 acres of land. It's on CG and it's generally located at the southwest corner of West Chinden Boulevard and North 10 Mile Road at 3403 West Chinden Boulevard. This property was annexed back in 2018. A development agreement was approved as a provision of annexation that was later amended. It prohibits trucks from delivering merchandise between the hours of 10 PM and 5 AM. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation for this property is commercial. The applicant is requesting approval of an amendment to the existing development agreement to change the restriction on delivery hours to prohibit deliveries between the hours of 11 PM and 3 AM, which is 1 hour later at night and 2 hours earlier in the morning. This application does not require action from the commission, only by city council. An associated conditional use permit is also requested for the proposed extended delivery hours, as the CG zoning district limits business hours of operation from 6 AM to 11 PM when the property abuts a residential use or district. Extended hours may be requested through a conditional use permit as requested. The reason for the applicant's request is to improve warehouse logistics and alleviate congestion during the morning and evening hours at the loading docks. An increase in the volume of truck deliveries is not proposed. 2 delivery trucks, occasionally 3, are anticipated between the hours of 3 AM to 5 AM. The modified hours will allow trucks to deliver goods upon arrival instead of waiting in queue during restricted hours, which forces multiple trucks to wait overnight in the parking lot, causing congestion in the morning hours, and puts pressure on warehouse staff to work faster than normal to clear the backlog. Likewise, there is pressure to finish deliveries by the evening cutoff time so that trucks don't have to wait overnight. These issues would be alleviated by extending the hours for delivery. Noise generated from deliveries after the semi trucks are parked at the loading docks consist of engine idling, backup beepers from the forklifts that are unloading, traveling into the trucks, and then backing into the warehouse to stack the palleted merchandise. And bang noises that radiate from the trailers when the forklifts enter and leave the truck, created by the small elevation change between the trailer bed and the loading dock leveler. There is a total of 4 loading docks located on the northwest corner of the building. Right here is circled in red. Single-family residential homes in Bainbridge subdivision are being constructed directly to the west of the site and are still under ownership by the developer. Olivia Apartments exist to the south of this site. There is approximately 115 feet between the west side of the Costco building, where the loading docks are located, and the rear lot lines of the nearest residential property. On the south side, there is approximately 80 feet between the south side of the Costco building and the back side of the nearest apartment building, and over 350 feet from the loading docks. A dense landscape buffer with a 6-foot tall solid wood fence exists between Costco and the residential uses to assist in buffering and noise mitigation. A sound measurement report was submitted that finds the proposed extended delivery hours will not create significant impacts. During the public hearing before the commission and city council for the annexation of the subject property for future development of Costco wholesale, much testimony was provided from neighbors pertaining to the impact the Costco development would have on their quality of life. Many of the concerns noted pertain to noise, including noise generated from deliveries and trucks idling waiting to unload. To address neighbors' concerns, the applicant committed to restricting the hours of operation so that no deliveries would occur between the hours of 10 PM and 5 AM, stating that they'd have the ability to stage deliveries because the trucks come from their own depots. That apparently hasn't been happening, as a side note, because trucks have been staying overnight, which can be happening. Written testimony in opposition of the proposed extended delivery hours has been received from adjacent residents as follows. A petition was received with 33 signatures from the residents of Cadence, Bainbridge subdivision, the western occupied portion of Bainbridge to the west of this site. A letter and 5 videos were received from Megan Coleman, Table Rock Management, on behalf of Olivia Apartments, directly to the south, with evidence obtained from their own investigations of Costco's delivery truck noise and its negative impact on their residents, which total approximately 122 people. A letter was received from Wade Ramsey, from the Homeowners Association Board of Directors of Bainbridge Subdivision, which lies south of West Lost Rapids Drive and west of North Tree Farm Way. Primary objection noted is the use of the Tree Farm and or Lost Rapids Drive by delivery truck traffic, creating noise pollution and impacting sleeping residents in the surrounding community. In addition, the letter requests the modification to delivery hours is denied, or at a minimum, stronger action and street signage, including pavement markings, are required to make it clear semi-trucks may not utilize Tree Farm or Lost Rapids Drive to access and or depart the site, consistent with the access requirements in the development agreement. I'll just note that real quick. The DA states the primary service access for Costco delivery trucks and other local vendors shall be from the driveway access from North 10 Mile Road, approximately 660 feet north of West Lost Rapids Drive. The driveway access from Lost Rapids Drive, driveway approximately 350 feet west of 10 Mile Road may be used when access to the Lost Rapids and 10 Mile traffic signal is needed. A no through truck traffic sign was required to be installed between the North Free Farm Way intersection and the West Lost Rapids Drive service driveway access, which has been done. 3 other letters of opposition were received from Mike and Melissa Bernard, Roger Nielsen, and Liz Criddle, again, all in opposition. Because of the great amount of testimony provided from neighbors that resulted in the current limitation on the business hours of operation and the great amount received in opposition to the proposed modification, staff is not in support of the change that would likely increase the negative impact on adjacent existing and future residents in the vicinity, and thus recommends denial of the conditional use. Staff will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sonia. Would the applicant like to come forward? Good evening, sir. Just need your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Furco. I'm with Barghausen Consulting Engineers. I need my address as well.
Yes.
18215 72nd Avenue South, Kent, Washington, 98032.
Yep, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you for listening to our request tonight. I want to first introduce some people that are with me. John Ellingson, who's a Costco real estate director, as well as Michael Yantis, who's an acoustical consultant who prepared the study that's before you tonight. And what I want to do is run through a PowerPoint presentation here and sort of read through some notes relative to our proposal. First off, though, I want to thank staff for their help with the application. They've been terrific throughout. We just respectfully disagree with their recommendation. So how do we change?
Should be able to hit the arrows on the keyboard or use the mouse.
Great, thank you. So Costco's standard is to avoid conditions of approval affecting its business operations. However, Costco heard the neighbors' concerns several years ago and attempted to address them with the modified receiving hours, as well as good site design and defined delivery routes. We feel that this proposal falls within the spirit of that condition. Now that Costco has been operating for the last several years, it has found that completing all deliveries during the restricted timeframe has been very difficult. While Costco can schedule delivery times at the depot, it cannot control when the deliveries show up at the site due to traffic. Consequently, there's been more idling, on-site maneuvering, queuing, and challenging receiving operations. And just to clarify, with regard to the trucks overnight, we confirmed with the warehouse management that trucks are not allowed to wait on site overnight. So if they miss the delivery window, they're told to come back the next day. Costco considered options to address this problem. First, reducing the volume of trucks, which isn't an option because it will decrease the availability of goods inside the warehouse. Also, expanding the receiving docks isn't possible because there isn't enough room to the west. So Costco commissioned a professional sound study to evaluate an expanded delivery window for the same volume of trucks. So the sound study collected data for 2 days along the south and west property lines, and then evaluated the data according to HUD guidelines. HUD guidelines are the most accurate method of assessing the acceptability of noise in a residential area, including sounds that have the potential to cause sleep interference. They acknowledge that windows could be opened or closed at the discretion of the resident. The HUD guidelines for acceptable residential use is 65 decibels or less. The predicted sound levels at the residences to the west are well within this guideline. Notably, the city's original decision anticipated that there would be homes next to loading docks and required the construction of a roughly 6-foot berm and then a 6-foot fence. The houses on the other side of the fence are also restricted to 1 story in height. The homes are further back are protected from noise by intervening buildings and landscaping and the attenuation of sound over distance. Oh, I should make a clarification on this slide relative to the box trucks before 8 a.m. So Costco is not proposing that type of restriction. They're proposing no trucks whatsoever going behind the warehouse. So that's a restriction that they will put in place. Also, the original decision restricted truck routes. Trucks are required to use the north driveway on North 10 Mile Road. Trucks can also use the driveway on West Lost Rapids Drive to access the signal at North 10 Mile Road. Finally, semi-trucks are not permitted to travel behind the warehouse. In fact, all trucks will not be allowed. Make sure that trucks follow the correct route. Costco will install wayfinding signs and provide directions to delivery drivers at the depot. Costco will also prohibit all trucks behind the warehouse. This addresses 2 key community comments. First off, the trucks not traveling behind the warehouse was a primary concern of the Olivia apartment complex to the south. The noise of trucks traveling behind the warehouse was a concern of theirs. This proposal to prohibit trucks going behind the warehouse addresses that. Second, the trucks will not travel on West Lost Rapids Drive. As staff has mentioned, there is a sign posted that shows that no trucks are allowed to go that direction. That was a concern of that neighborhood as well. So in summation, the additional delivery hours will provide Costco the flexibility to resolve periodic variations in delivery times and minimize the time that delivery vehicles spend on site. The site design, travel routes, and operation will maximize sound attenuation to adjacent residential properties. As such, the request to extend the receiving time 1 hour in the evening and 2 hours in the morning is consistent with the intent of the original approval. It is also consistent with Costco's intent of being a good neighbor and a successful business in the community. So that concludes my comments. Our team is available to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, do we have questions, comments? Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Wheeler, anything to question or?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
I have a lot of questions on this to be frank. And perhaps this is because I haven't been at the previous hearings on this prior to its continuance. But I guess my main question for the applicant, beyond convenience and marginal logistical strain, is there anything about the current delivery, the current statute or current law around when Costco is able to receive shipments that is overwhelmingly harmful to the operation of the store, beyond logistical issues of I guess more marginal concern? I'm asking, I guess, are there any severe impacts of things as they stand to Costco's business and ability to operate?
The impacts are that there is some congestion that occurs basically in the middle of the day when there are both delivery trucks, smaller delivery trucks, kind of competing a little bit with trucks that come to pick things up at the warehouse and leave. And so the issue is with all that activity going on, there's a lot of movement outside and inside the warehouse that causes some concerns, not just with logistics, it can be a safety consideration as well. And ultimately, it just makes it very difficult to get all the deliveries made in time, and everything tends to back up. And so, it's a concern that has brought us here to request this approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
We do. Wade Ramsey.
Evening. My name is Wade Ramsey. I live at 4013 West Lost Rapids Drive in Meridian in the Bainbridge subdivision. Did send a slide over with a map this morning. It would make it a little easier to identify our area if you can.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
If there's a slide, I emailed a slide to the city clerk this morning. Easier to identify our neighborhoods involved.
Sir, may I ask, are you representing an HOA?
Yes, Bainbridge.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do you want to go ahead and reset the timer on him? Thank you.
Sir, around what time did you send the email? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble
About
finding it.
11 o'clock this morning.
We
Sent
found
the
some, but
PDF. That's fine.
what name of the email would it be coming from?
It was under my name and it
Wade
was a
Ramsey?
PDF. It was a Google Maps PDF is what it was.
Sir, if you like, we could probably have staff put a Google map up on
If
the
you can do
screen
that,
for
that's
you.
probably
If
sufficient.
that would work.
You can do that, that's sufficient.
Is that possible to? Thank you.
Sir, I apologize. I do not have record of that email.
Can you pull up a Google Maps area of the area?
You're working on it, yes.
Great, thank you. I'll continue then if that's okay.
Yep.
So I'm president of the Homeowners Association for Bainbridge. I'm here representing the 572 homes or about 1,100 voters that live within our community. Thank you, by the way. On that map, the loop of Lost Rapids to Tree Farm, which is the south and west of the Costco, that's my neighborhood, Bainbridge. Immediately south is the Olivia Apartments, and immediately west of Costco is the Cadence at Bainbridge neighborhood. I suspect you're going to hear from both those groups tonight. For Bainbridge, the board membership has discussed this proposed conditional use permit change and is in opposition to this change, as initially outlined in my letter of May 1st. Our current concerns are related, like the Olivia property and the Cadence property, to the increase in noise and traffic, especially in the middle of the night. The current conditional use permit does not permit deliveries between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Costco assured area residents, as noted on page 7, paragraph 3 of the staff report, that they had full ability to control the delivery times because those trucks were coming from their own distribution centers. As noted, it's not clear why that has suddenly changed. At our May board meeting and our June annual meeting for homeowners, this issue was discussed. The board unanimously agreed to engage on this issue and stand in opposition. Our membership was also overwhelmingly opposed to this change. This is an important issue to my community. We have also serious concerns that Costco has not lived up to the existing conditional use permit and its provisions related to truck traffic. Currently, inbound truck traffic comes north on 10 Mile, turns west onto Chendon, and enters the Costco lot nearest the loading docks via the northwest entrance. Outbound semi-trucks are to exit reversing the same path, leaving via the northwest entrance of the Costco area, turning east on Chendon, and then south on 10 Mile Road to get back to the highway. In rare circumstances, if an outbound semi-truck needs to go west on Chendon, they're allowed to exit on the southeast of the Costco property, immediately east of the Olivia Apartments, turning east on Lost Rapids to the intersection of 10 Mile, and then using the intersection signal to go north on 10 Mile and then west on Chendon. Again, thank you. The current CUP does not permit any of that traffic for deliveries between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. and does not permit any inbound traffic, regardless of time, via Lost Rapids. However, as outlined in the Olivia documentation online and observed by our own membership, semi-trucks do in fact enter the Costco property via the Lost Rapids Road, including during the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. prohibited window. As required by the existing conditional use permit, there is a small, perhaps 10-inch no truck traffic through traffic sign on Lost Rapids after turning west from 10 Mile. It is located among other signs and is easily missed. The map shows location. It is on the northwest corner of the 10 Mile and Lost Rapids intersection. Like I said, it's about a 10-inch sign. That sign may be seen by a truck driver after he or she is already on West Lost Rapids Drive, and by then it's too late to do anything other than proceed down West Lost Rapids Drive. There should be a no truck traffic sign on the intersection turn signal post to indicate no trucks can turn left from northbound 10 Mile onto Lost Rapids. There is not. More concerningly, we have observed semi-trucks exiting the Costco property via the southeast and turning west onto Lost Rapids. Those trucks then pass Keith Bird Legacy Park, down Tree Farm Way, and use the intersection light with Chendon to go west on Chendon. That path is expressly prohibited by the current conditional use permit, but there is no street markings or signage anywhere to communicate that to drivers. We have been told that before, that there would be, and there is not. The noise of semi-truck engines, brakes, and driving is a problem for all those homes along the Lost Rapids and Tree Farm route, including during the prohibited times. Beginning at 7 a.m. each morning, there are several school bus stops along Tree Farm and Lost Rapids and children crossing the road. There are children throughout the Olivia Apartments, Keith Bird Legacy Park, and the bike paths that are on both sides of Lost Rapids and Tree Farm Way throughout the early morning hours and daytime. While we wish they would all be careful, they aren't, and anything we can do to minimize truck traffic along that Tree Farm and Lost Rapids loop would be wise. While our current state is problematic from a noise and semi-truck perspective, we fear this will only get worse once the Chendon Road widening project is completed, and Chendon is 4 lanes all the way to the Caldwell interchange and I-84. For trucks needing to go westbound on Chendon, there must be more structure or education around that drive path. I would remind the commission members of the findings on page 12 of the revised staff report. There are 8 applicable findings, and 4 of those encourage denial of this request. Finding 2, which concerns the proposal being harmonious with the Meridian Comprehensive Plan, the finding is that it is not harmonious. On finding 3 concerning whether the change will be compatible with other areas in the neighborhood, the finding is that it is not compatible. Finding 4 concerning that it does not adversely impact other properties, the finding is that the proposal will adversely affect the neighboring properties. Finding number 7 concerning whether or not the proposal will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare, the finding is that it will be detrimental. As mentioned, this is an important issue for our 572 homeowners. We are unhappy and opposed to the current way semi-trucks enter and exit the Costco property, including after 10 p.m. and before 5 a.m. is permitted. The trucks create noise we did not anticipate. At times, we were told they would not. The semi-trucks take a route through our neighborhoods we were promised that they would not. At times, they should not. We are opposed to any change that would relax the existing conditional use permit. And if anything, we would ask to see a change that is more restrictive than anything else. Thank you. Our residents and Bainbridge voters appreciate your time and attention.
That wasn't your timer. That was just an amber alert. So-
Thought it might be, but any questions for me?
Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Ramsey? None? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Angela Ware, if you could please unmute.
I think I did. Hi, my name is Angela Ware, and I work with the management of Olivia Apartments, which is just south of the Costco. Wade said the majority of a lot of what we were going to say, but in general, we went out in the mornings and listened for the sound. There are some berms there just south, but we have units that are on the 2nd and 3rd floor which do not have any sound attenuation. That could be and is impacted by the trucks, and increasing the time period for which they can do that. I understand that they speak about it not coming around the drive aisle, but what we found as Wade spoke was that they're not also supposed to be coming through North Lost Rapids, and yet we found that they were doing that. And on that side, when they come in through that drive aisle, North Tree Farm Road, there are no berms and no separation for those residents who are sleeping. So we find that impacting, the greatest impact being that we can do signage and that still may not prevent trucks from going in the directions that are impacting to our residents. And it's about 122 residents that are impacted. And we found that, sleep interruptions can happen, or the World Health Organization said that sleep interruptions can happen at 45 decibels. And my understanding from the Costco report was that it was based on windows being closed, the decibel levels. And, I would hate to require residents to not be allowed to open their windows if they want to get fresh air in the evening. So for that reason, we oppose this change.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions? No? Thank you.
I'm sorry, is Megan Coleman also with you?
She's with me, but I am speaking on her behalf.
Okay, thank you. I have no one else signed up.
All right. If there's anybody else in chambers would like to testify, come on up. I was going to say raise your hand, but you beat me to it, so you're good. Come on up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, my name is Liz Criddle, and I'm at 6215 North Vicenza Lane. I just wanted to add to Wade and what the staff report said. Costco is not complying to their delivery hours as of now. My husband has called the warehouse. And he actually called the police and they asked, well, what are you calling me for? So, because at one point, I think we were told to make an official police report that is noise. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. He is woken up quite often, and I hear it too. It's the forklift. It's not necessarily the beeping, it's the forklift. And I thought it was a trash compactor just going pound, pound, pound. But that's all I wanted to say is that Costco is not following the guidelines that they said they would. I understand it's tough, and trucks do park in the parking lot overnight. I'm there, I can see it. And I have seen them driving behind the warehouse as well. And when they start, they can't stop, there's no way to do a U-turn. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, that they're not complying now and didn't even think about the increase in traffic when when Interstate 16 goes through. So anyway, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else in chambers that would like to testify? Anybody online, you can raise your hand. Seeing none, commissioners, if we have no further questions, or sorry, I'm at the wrong point right now. So anyway, would the applicant like to come back up?
Good evening. My name is John Ellingson. I'm with Costco Wholesale Real Estate. My address is 999 Lake Drive, Issaquah, Washington, 98027.
Yes, sir.
So again, thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate all of the neighborhood comments. We did, as a matter of course, meet with several groups, or 2 groups, excuse me, both with Olivia and I believe it was the Bainbridge development as well. But again, I want to reiterate that our intent here is to remain compliant with the spirit and intent of the original condition. We're not asking to eliminate the condition. We're just looking for a minor modification in order to allow us to operate more efficiently on site. And so with that, as we were tasked with this request, we wanted to ensure that we could move forward with something that wouldn't introduce a new impact or increase an impact on our neighbors. We want to continue to be a good neighbor and operate harmoniously with both the established commercial side of things as well as our residential neighbors to the south and to the west. So with Mr. Ramsey's comments talking about the truck route on Lost Rapids, my understanding of that original condition was that the Lost Rapids access was made available only during those times that the driveway off of 10 Mile Road was congested. So it was a secondary route, if you will, to eliminate trucks from lining up on 10 Mile, not being able to make that left turn if they're able to get in on that first. If that's a misunderstanding and we need to clarify that, we're more than happy to do that. But that's how we were operating on the site. In terms of trucks traveling further to the west on Lost Rapids, I'm not aware of that particular issue. We don't allow our trucks to run that direction. It's possible that there's a lot of other commercial activity in the area. Perhaps those trucks are there, and we would be more than happy to work with staff to come up with better signage there for that contingency, but understand that we can continue to educate our drivers to avoid that route. So I think that addresses Mr. Ramsey's comments. Ms. Ware from Olivia Apartments, we understand those concerns, and clearly those apartments with particularly the third floor apartments adjacent to our south drive aisle could be problematic. So we do recognize that and are going to fully restrict 80 truck movement on the south side of our site. That's not to say that there won't be vehicles that drive back there periodically. Those are things that are going to happen. It's a fire access. It's an open area that we do need to maintain. And so that's possible. The videos that we did receive and the sound readings, I believe was a truck with a trailer. It wasn't a delivery vehicle for Costco that was using that from what I recall. But moving forward, we'll ensure that restriction remains in place. And then Ms. Kirtle on her last comments, I think echoing Mr. Ramsey, the issue of Costco not complying with the current conditional use permit. I do take some exception there. We work very hard to comply with decisions of approval, conditions of approval, and ensuring that we're a good neighbor here in Meridian. And I think there are other commercial developments in the area. We can't control those. If trucks do happen to come on site after hours, unscheduled, that's a problem that we'll continue to work on. But those kinds of things are outside of our control, and we do our best to maintain those things that are in our control to hopefully be a good neighbor to both Olivia Apartments and Bainbridge. I think that addresses all of the comments that we heard, but if there are any other questions, I'm happy to.
Okay. Commissioners, we have any further questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
I guess a question for the applicant. Out of curiosity, have you personally lived near in a situation near a site that regularly reaches these decibel levels, be it a freeway off ramp, a warehouse, anything like that?
I had a difficult time hearing. He was asking if I had personal experience.
Yeah, or any one of the applicants, any of the applicants here. Have you personally?
No, well, I would answer that with I've worked with Costco for Costco program for over 20 years, an employee for the last 2.5, and in the development world for 30 years. And we base our sound design and operations off of quantifiable, objective data, not off of a presumption or a feeling that something may be an impact. So I say that because when we evaluate issues like this, to ensure that we're doing the right thing and moving forward with a sound proposal, we determine the facts and evaluate those to make a decision. We try to keep subjectivity and feelings out of those decisions to ensure that we're not creating an impact.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I respect that. I think part of what is at question here is, at least for me personally, is the reliability of some of the data, the weight placed on some of the data. And while we could have a larger philosophical discussion about this, I'll limit this to this, is that subjective experiences do tend to shape the interpretation of objective data. And so that's why I was asking, and you don't need to answer that. That's having lived near an off-ramp that was under construction and repair for some time, I can personally attest that I have never been more fatigued and tired than I have been in those 6 months of my life. Um, and while 40 to 50 decibels might not be earth-shatteringly loud or eardrum rupturing, the equivalent of someone starting a conversation in your home, certainly with someone, especially folks who might have insomnia or things like that, certainly can be waking and can impact sleep quality. So that this is my issue, and I'll leave it open for you to comment on that if you'd like, or if you'd like to answer the original question.
Yeah, thank you for
But
the
but
opportunity. I
yeah,
appreciate the comment. There's a reason why there are guidelines and standards for evaluating this type of situation. And the HUD residential sound guidelines, as I understand it, are the most robust and reliable measurement for acceptable sound levels in a residential environment. So they break that down into an acceptable range, unacceptable, and there was a third. I apologize, but so there are benchmarks in which to measure those kind of impacts. And if we're within an acceptable range, that analysis is done over a certain period of time, over a 24-hour period of time, taking into account those noise levels through that period and how that could potentially impact a residence. And so we're relying on that standard to make this proposal.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, anything further?
sorry, no, Mr. Chair, not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0007 for Costco development.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0007. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Who would like to go first?
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Oh,
Commissioner Smith, go
okay.
ahead.
Just some thoughts, and apologize if I was being too obvious in my predisposition here. I think Chairman Steele, you said something well in the previous public comment or the previous discussion around the previous application around if it were a school, if it weren't a school, it'd be an easy no. I think this is, for me, one of the situations where the past application being a school takes it from an easy no to a more difficult discussion. The facts surrounding this application make it very hard for me to move beyond a no. I personally don't. I am a big fan of Costco, to be clear. If you look at my our Costco brand credit card statements, you'll see we shop there regularly. But I just cannot bring myself to understand. The concept of neighborliness has come up a couple times, and I can't understand another situation in which it seems to me to be neighborly. To if my neighbor is throwing a party and I ask if they can keep it down, and they tell me, hey, you can shut your windows, or if something happens because of someone else's misplanning of the timing of an event they're throwing, one of my neighbors, and making that my problem around extending the sound, the timeline for sound or noise curfew. I just don't understand any other context in which it kind of seems to be the act of a good neighbor, to place the responsibility and the impact of dealing with these issues on one's neighbors. And so, to be frank, I think Costco made the concession when this site was approved on keeping those that time, that window for its deliveries, with the impact, if it's 42 decibels instead of the 45 that one might deem to be adequately harmful. The EPA shows that 40, and this is in public comment, some of the documents linked from the EPA shows that 40 decibels is unacceptable in residential areas. And so this is why I was asking, about personal experiences, because, I can attest that I would agree it's unacceptable. So I just don't see, personally, I don't see a route that would lead me to accept this, barring additional conversations with the neighborhood to bring things into alignment. If neighbors could come to agree on some modifications, some compromise, with the support of those neighboring residents, I could potentially be made to be more amenable to this. But in its current state, I don't see a path forward to me approving this. That's just kind of where I'm at to make things clear.
Commissioner Warcher?
Commissioner Steele, I own a transportation company and I have big diesel truck. Carter was going out, and for the entire trip that he was gone for a week, he never shut off, because that would require him to be stuck in nowhere, Nevada. And that would be even more expensive for us. So things happen in trucking. Weather happens in trucking. Trucking is very fluid. We never guarantee a time of delivery, because a person could have a flat tire in front of you or cut you off, or like in the city of Boise, 3.5 inches of rain within 90 minutes. Anything can happen on the road, and we need to be prepared for that. So Costco can control when the truck leaves their warehouse, but they cannot control when they get to the store. And is without the 11 to 3 or 10 to 5, whatever time or the 6 to 11 we've talked about so many times. But then they are required to stay overnight, and they only can drive so many hours in a day, because whether they're interstate or interstate, they have rules of regulations. With that in mind, knowing all 3 Costco's, the one on Cole Road, the one in Nampa, and the one here in Meridian. Meridian's unique because it is surrounded by neighborhoods, where the other 2 have a little bit more wiggle room because it's more commercial or industrial. So to be a good neighbor, extend the hours would be, and with the overwhelming concerns of the neighbors, would be injustice to the neighborhood that they are trying to serve. So it would be a no for me as well.
Commissioner Wheeler, you have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, yeah, this is just really hard for me to get behind based upon what was already previously agreed to when it first came through, and also with the neighbors, residential, and just the residential feedback on that. One of the things of being able to enjoy real estate is peaceful and quiet enjoyment. And we're trying to accommodate that. And I think it's just something we need to continue with. So I'm not going to be in support of this.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I could do a motion.
feel free.
After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend denial to City Council of file number H 2023-0007 as presented in the hearing on June 15th for the following reasons. Overwhelming concerns of noise, traffic, and negative impact to the neighbors to the extent of the receiving hours at this time.
Second.
Been moved in second to recommend denial. City Council file number H 2023-0007 as presented during the hearing of June 15th, 2023. All in favor of the denial, please say aye.
Aye.
No nays? It is denied. All right, and with that, we will. Let's say, I think we're continuing this one too. It's been never presented but continued. Sorry, I have trouble keeping track.
Chairman, item 5 on the agenda, Julia subdivision, I believe you're referring to.
Yes,
You do have a staff report on it. The applicant, I believe is here to
Okay.
testify tonight, so we're ready to go if you are.
all right, we'll open file number H 2023-0003 for Julia subdivision.
Thank you. The next applications are request for annexation and zoning and preliminary plat. This site is an enclave consisting of 2.77 acres of land. It's zoned RUT in Ada County and is located on the west side of North Black Cat Road, midway between Ustick Road and Cherry Lane at 2435 North Black Cat Road. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is medium density residential, which calls for 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The applicant proposes to annex 2.77 acres of land with an R8 zoning district for the development of 10 single-family residential detached homes at a gross density of 3.61 units per acre, consistent with the medium density residential future land use map designation. A preliminary plat is proposed consisting of 10 building lots and 5 common lots on 2.77 acres of land. Proposed building lots range in size from 4,151 square feet to 12,671 square feet. There is an existing home that is proposed to remain on lot 4. All other structures are proposed to be removed. And there is an existing driveway access via Black Cat Road for the existing home that is proposed to be removed. Access will be provided via the extension of Julia Avenue at the northern boundary of the site. Another driveway exists for irrigation district access from Black Cat that will remain. A 25-foot wide buffer is required along Black Cat Road, which is listed in the capital improvement plan to be widened from 2 lanes to 3 to 5 lanes between 2031 and 2035. Because the site is below 5 acres in size, common open space and site amenities are not required. However, the applicant is proposing 0.59 acre of common open space consisting of street buffer, open space with pathways, and a storm drainage area. The Sky Pilot drain exists on the adjacent property to the west and is piped. And it also is on the subject property along the southern boundary and is open. This is required to be piped with development. The drain lies within a 100-foot wide easement, 50 feet on each side measured from center line. All of the lots along the western and southern boundaries of the site encroach within this easement. NMID has stated they will consider encroachments within the outer 20 feet of the easement with a license agreement similar to what they approved with the adjacent development to the west, Trish's Crossing. You can see that easement line is depicted right here on all of these lots. No buildings or trees would be allowed in the inner 30 feet of the easement, but lawn and fences could be allowed. The Unified Development Code requires irrigation easements wider than 10 feet to be included in a common lot that is a minimum of 20 feet wide outside of a fenced area, unless modified by city council at a public hearing with notice to surrounding property owners. The applicant is requesting a council waiver on that. The width of the easement encroachment on this site is approximately 27 feet. The applicant requests council approval for the easement to be located on building and common lots. And that's applies to lots 7, 9 through 12, and 15, rather than a common lot. If the irrigation district approves an encroachment agreement as anticipated, there will only be approximately 7 feet where no buildings or trees would be allowed. For this reason, staff is supportive of the applicant's request. Several conceptual building elevations of 1-story homes with a bonus room over the garage were submitted as shown. Building materials consist of a variety of siding, some of stone or brick veneer accents. Staff recommends as a provision of the development agreement that all homes include brick or stone veneer accents on the street facing elevations. The existing home is proposed to be renovated and reoriented to take access from the internal street rather than Black Cat Road. A new two-car garage will be constructed accessible from the internal street from which access is provided. Due to concerns pertaining to the height of the homes and related privacy issues expressed during the neighborhood meeting with the original developer, the current developer has agreed to a provision in the development agreement that limits all houses to a single story in height with a bonus room above the garage with all windows facing the front of the lots. There has been no written testimony received on this application. Staff is recommending approval with the requirement of a development agreement per the provisions in the staff report. Staff will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sonia. The applicant like to come forward?
Bruce Hessing, 2338 West Boulder Bar Drive, Meridian.
Sir, where's yours?
I love working with Meridian. The planners are amazing. I couldn't say it any better than it was just said. I'm here for questions.
Okay. Commissioners, we have any questions?
Commissioner Seal,
Yes, go ahead.
so all of the houses won't have windows on the back of the buildings? Is that what I heard?
The main floor, yes, but the concern was if we built 2 stories, the neighbors didn't want bedrooms facing bedrooms
Right.
on a 2-story. So
So it's a 1-story and the bonus room's facing the street, right?
yes,
But the backyard will have windows and things, but it's only 1 story.
on 1 story. So what we did, we modified it from previous developer that was wanting 2 stories. It was just easier. You good neighbor, just say, hey, 1 story.
I have one more question.
Right ahead.
Can you bring up the preliminary plat again, please? So site number 14 and 13, how do you, and you've got another one. How do you access those? I see the cul-de-sac. How do you access number 13?
I'm sorry, there's that private drive right there that Sonia's showing.
Okay, so it's a private drive for just those 2 houses?
Yes.
And then number 12? Is that a house? Number 12, is that a house? That triangle at the corner?
Yeah, the triangle in the corner is also a house.
Okay, and you access that from that private drive as well?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioners, do we have any other questions? for The applicant? None?
None
Madam
for
Clerk?
me.
Oh, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed in?
We do not.
Anybody in chambers want to testify on this? All right, I see nobody online raising their hand. Nothing further to add. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0003 for Julia subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0003 Julia subdivision. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. The public hearing is closed. Yeah, full disclosure on this, if you look at the full map of this, I was in lot 7 in the subdivision to the south previously. So I know this piece of property very well. They used to board horses here. So it's an interesting piece of property. The road behind it for the, the easement in there for the canal that's buried is that's always been kind of interesting as the vehicles pass through there. And I'm happy to see that they're going to continue if one or if the subdivision to the west has the encroachment to allow it for this seems logical and something that could happen. It is a really strange parcel because of the easement that's there and the access that's needs to be provided. So infill like this is really, really tough for sure. So I think, I don't have anything, I don't have any opposition to the, what's being done in here. Like anything, it'd be nice to have a little less density, but they're, within range. So I don't have any opposition to it.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Orchard?
typically, I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but never really a big fan of those private drives because it can be kind of clustered, but based on the shape of this parcel, and the fact that he has kind of spread them out a little bit, especially lot number 12, looks like they've got a pretty significant, depending on if the house is in the front of the property, the back of the property, it seems like a pretty nice place to, put a house. It would be up to the discretion of the homeowners. They know what they're getting into if they're on that private drive, but I think the space with the cul-de-sac would be a good extension on Julia Drive for this parcel.
Thank you. Commissioner Wheeler Smith, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wheeler.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of just, you guys know me, I like infill projects. I like the creativity that comes with them. I'm with you, Commissioner Lorchard, that sometimes these private drives can cause issues, but this is a good project and it has my yes vote on this one.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with the rest of the discussion. I tend to agree with Commissioner Orchard that private drives aren't always ideal, but this implementation looks honestly not particularly too bad. So I don't see anything with this that is cause for concern for me. Yeah, and with that, I plan on supporting this.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion.
After considering all staff and applicant and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to City Council file number H 2023-003 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 15th, 2023, with no modifications.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve file number H 2023-0003 for Julia subdivision with no modifications. All in favor, please say aye.
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 No opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And in the past, we have just done a quick motion to recognize the withdrawal. So I'll need a motion for to recognize the withdrawal for file number H 2023-0001 for Fairview Apartments.
So moved.
We're just recognizing the applicant's withdrawal of the file.
So what do you want me to say?
Uh,
Motion or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I said it, somebody said so moved, and so just need a second.
Oh, second then.
It's been moved and second to recognize the withdrawal of the application of file number H 2023-0001. All in favor, say aye.
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 Withdrawal is recognized. With that, we can take a quick bio break. Okay, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, if everybody's ready, we will recall to session.
Ready.
Ready here as well.
Okay. With that, we'll open file number H 2023-0025 for Loose Screw Brewery, and we will begin with staff report.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. Tonight, we bring before you a request for a conditional use permit for Loose Screw Brewery. The applicant applied for a conditional use permit to operate a brewery, which is a food and brewing processing minor per the code, and the primary use, and also a drinking establishment to extend the operating hours beyond the allowed specific use standards for the brewery for the existing, from an existing 8,185 square foot building on 0.5 acres of the land that is in the OT zoning district. The director has already approved an administrative design review for the proposed modifications to the exterior facade of the existing building. The applicant is asking for extended operating hours. This property is located within 300 feet of property used for a church and any other place of worship, or any public or private education facility. Therefore, the operating hours for this proposal shall be limited to from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. with this conditional use permit. Because the specific use standards for a brewery are limited to, the applicant has requested that they are deemed as as requested, and we have established that they are deemed as a drinking establishment to allow the extended hours to 12 a.m. As noted, the use standards for drinking establishments do not allow operations of such a use within 300 feet of the existing church and school. Staff is currently processing a code amendment to remove this requirement. Staff anticipate that the proposed code changes to be discussed with the commission during the July 6th commission hearing. Upon approval of the code amendment, the proposed project will be allowed to extend its operating hours. As far as parking, this property is on OT, which would require one parking space per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, and it would require 8 parking spaces. However, the change in use requires the applicant to meet the higher parking requirement of 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of gross floor area, which would require them to have 33 parking spaces. Currently, there are only 28 parking spaces to serve this site. Staff is requiring the applicant to enter into a parking agreement to meet the required needs for the proposed change of use, or submit a written document from the owner allowing the use of the adjacent law office parking, since the property, excuse me for not doing this, since the property is under common ownership of what the property adjacent to it is under common ownership. Excuse me, this is my first comment. I'll show you. As you can see, the property adjacent to it is under current ownership. So this is for the Loose Screw Brewery, and this is the parking, adjacent parking lot for the law firm. Another thing that was brought to attention from the staff report is that there currently isn't a trash enclosure for this particular application. So the applicant will be required to coordinate with Republic Services of Meridian for the appropriate size and location of the trash enclosure. Currently, they are proposing to put a trash enclosure here, but they will need to provide documentation from Republic for the appropriate size and location of that. The applicant has also proposed the use of a food truck for this proposal, as you can see on the site plan. Currently, the city does not allow the use of food trucks through a conditional use permit. they will have to apply for a temporary use permit through the city's clerk's office for the use of a food truck. Again, staff has approved the design review for the exterior of the building itself, the proposed landscaping modifications, and any work within the parking lot and the trash enclosure the applicant will need to apply for a certificate of zoning compliance, and it will need to be submitted and approved by the planning department prior to the building permit submittal to adjust the parking site modifications associated with the construction of the new trash enclosure. And that is at condition 7 and 8 in the staff report. And this is just pictures of what exists on the site right now. Staff recommends approval of this conditional use permit with the conditions listed in the staff report. And at this time, staff will stand for any questions that you have.
Thank you. Does it feel good to get that first one out of the way?
Oh my God, it did. I'm sorry about
You did great. You did
Thank
great.
you very much. Did very good. Would the applicant like to come forward, please? Good evening, sir. Need your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Mike Garcia, 2250 West Boulder Bar, Meridian, 83646. Commission, city staff, thank you this evening. First and foremost, thank you for everything you do. Being a former planning commissioner of another city, I really do appreciate the due diligence which was represented tonight in the previous applications. Loose Screw Beer Company is a family locally owned company by my wife and I, along with our brewer, who's a recent add to our ownership group. We've got a current tap room, North Meridian at Linder and McMillan. We are really excited about bringing something, I think, new, innovative to downtown Meridian, in addition to improving an old kind of dilapidated building that's been vacant for over a decade. Meridian has really been at the top of our list the entire time when we've been going through our due diligence of where we wanted to place our next production facility and tap room. We did check out a number of other cities, but Meridian, and really specifically downtown, kept on coming back to us. We've had a tremendous amount of support from city staff and council, and specifically Mayor Simpson in this project, even highlighted it in his State of the City speech. And that really, really genuinely appreciated that, in addition to just all the support we've received from the community when talking about this project and bringing something like this to downtown. And in this property, I mean, we've been looking for, specific checkboxes for us: production, taproom space, first and foremost, parking, private event space, and something that's located within a high traffic area, in addition to having pedestrian access. That the site fits all these needs. And again, we're looking forward to improving this project. Not sure if you guys were aware of the prior use, but we're looking forward to breathing some life into this building. Let's see if I had any other notes to bring up, but no, we're welcome any kind of questions about this project or the company itself.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, we have questions. Commissioner Lorcher?
Mr. Chair, you're going to have a heck of a Halloween party, I'm sure. Over there. I guess the only thing I have concern with is that, again, I had mentioned to this room that I own a trucking company and we're pretty old school. So we have a PO box and we do a lot of our communication snail mail. So I go to the post office every day. Now, the good news is Cole Christian's going to move out. And that will alleviate some of the parking over there. The bad news is they're not going to do it for 2 or 3 years. And so I've given up trying to park in the parking lot at the post office. I am done. I am not doing it anymore. We park actually in the parking lot of that building quite a bit. And I know there's a fair amount of overflow from the the school that is there, as well as, I can't believe I went by yesterday and usually all the rural trucks are there. There's not a one. So I don't know where they all went. But anyway, I think the only challenge you're going to have over there between the hours of 11 and 5, when the post office is actually in operation, is competing with the public to be able to be in that parking area. But I would not be inclined to decline it just based on that.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Wheeler, you have any questions for the applicant or staff?
None
Yeah.
for me.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, so just, I may have missed it, but I just wanted to ask about something you mentioned, the staff report about parking, shared parking with the co-owned law firm. I know that's not necessarily part of the application as it is. Do you anticipate that being something that you're going to pursue, or something that is in the works?
Yes, I could definitely speak to that. And we actually have a representative from the ownership group of the subject site, in addition to the parking lot. And the parking lot, is not owned by the law firm. It is through the JRT ownership group. But yes, we have a very close relationship with them, and we are prepared to sign an agreement allowing us, access to that site after 6 p.m. And that puts us well over, obviously we started at eight parking stalls, but now at 33, this will put us well over that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
We do. Chelsea Major.
All right. Thank you very much.
Weeks ago.
You have been here, yeah.
It's my new favorite activity. Hi, Chelsea Major, 1029 East 3rd Street, downtown Meridian. I am a local resident, neighbor, and small business owner as well. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Mike and Pam and their great company that they have today. They've been really good mentors to the small business community, as well as they're bringing something to this building, which if you live nearby, and I do, it's been kind of sad and really, really depressing for a really long time. So I just want to speak to say, I think it's really great to see more things coming into our neighborhood that we really need, and we want to bring more culture and community down here. And Mike and team have done a great job of bringing that to Meridian, and they're going to continue to do that. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. No one else? Anyone else want to testify on this application? Seeing none. If the applicant has anything further to add? No, signifying no. And with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0025 for Loose Screw Brewery.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0025. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Unopposed? Public hearing is closed.
Well, I kind of said my say already as far as like parking for the parking lot. But
Yep.
if this truly is going to be the rendering, it will, like Chelsea said, the building needs a little love. And so with the administrative approval of the design, I think it'll be a good welcome improvement to Old Town for sure.
Yeah, I would agree that, I mean, the fact that it's going to take something and, renew it, refresh it, and, reconfigure it to have another purpose is good, for sure. So hopefully it's not too creepy in there. I'm sure that's going to be a theme somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a beer named, isn't there Liquid Death already? I mean.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, it's good to see that, Old Town is being refreshed like this. So it's good to see that that's happening, in a way that's not necessarily, multi-story buildings and, big store names and things like that coming in. So happy to see it. Happy that the parking agreement will be easy for you guys. So look forward to it. Mr. Smith or Wheeler, got anything to add?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Right ahead.
Yeah, I just this is a great development to see. It's exactly the kind of thing we want more of in Old Town. More local businesses in somewhat of a walkable distance to other locations as well is always good. It's good to see things being renewed. And having been to the existing Loose Screw location a couple times, any concerns about, the social externalities or anything. I have none of that. It's a well-maintained property. Seems like stand-up business, and I'm excited to have more of it in Meridian.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Miller, anything to add or a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, being that they're close to
Oh, did we lose you?
oops, sorry, there it is, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Sorry, I had it on mute there. I was just gonna ask the applicant if they had, I guess, they're gonna be close to an attorney's office, and just wanted to know if that kind of scared them at all. That was my only thought there. They might not want to take after the no lawyers bar and grill for sure, but no, I'm in support of this. It's always nice to see these refreshes happen and uses happen in Old Town.
No modifications.
Second.
I didn't actually hear the word approval.
Did I not say approve?
Did not say approval.
Oh, I moved to approve and everything else I said.
Okay. So does the second still stand?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one you got, but
second
I guess we said yes.
Okay, it's been
Second and third.
second to recommend approval of City Council file number H 2023-0025 for Loose Screw Brewery. All in favor, please say aye.
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 So, Mr. Chairman, I thought we corrected it, and I think not now. So can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So well, first of all, let me make sure I'm correct. This is a CUP, so you are the deciding body.
Oh, so it doesn't go
So
to
no,
council.
I think we,
Reading the script, so let me do it again.
yeah, so if you can read, maybe entertain that motion one more time, but it's for approval tonight, not a recommendation to the council. And I think
right.
that was let me fess up on behalf of the staff. I think that was our error in the hearing notes. We had the wrong verbiage there, but it should be for approval.
Okay, yeah, and sometimes when it's packaged with something else, we'll still do the recommended. That's why I didn't hesitate on that one, but go right ahead.
Let me do it again. After considering all staff and public testimonies, I move to approve the conditional use permit for file number H 2023-0025 as presented the staff report for the hearing date of June 15th, 2023 with no modifications. Good? All right.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve file number H 2023-0025 for Loose Screw Brewery. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Congratulations. Good luck. Alrighty, and with that, we will open file number H 2023-0022 for Black Box VR. We will begin with staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. The applicant has submitted a conditional use permit for Black Box VR. The site consists of 1.325 acres of land zoned IL located at 950 North Hickory Avenue. History on the property, a certificate of zoning compliance was approved for the site, landscaping, and the actual building. The comprehensive plan flume designation is mixed use non-residential. And the summary of the request is a conditional use permit request to operate an indoor recreation facility from Suite 100 in an existing 23,000 square foot flex building. It is proposed. The proposed indoor virtual reality fitness gym is considered an appropriate use and meets the development guidelines listed for this designation. Use is also consistent with the planned unit development approved in 1991 for the Gemtone Inc., which approved a mix of commercial and light industrial uses in the IL zoning district. This use is proposed to be contained within an existing flex building as noted above. The tenant space for the virtual reality fitness gym will be approximately 2,780 square feet within an existing building with no exterior modifications proposed. The applicant submitted a site plan showing the tenant space for the reality fitness gym. And based on the proposed tenant space of approximately 2,780 square feet of gross floor area, a minimum of 6 off-street parking spaces are required. The building and other site improvements are existing and include the off-street parking for the entire flex building. According to the submitted site plan showing the existing site conditions, a total of 49 parking spaces are approved exceeding UDC standards. Based on the 6 parking spaces provided for this use, a minimum of 1 bicycle parking space is required to be provided. And that was also provided on and pointed out on the site plan. Landscaping, the 10-foot wide buffer is required along East State Street, and the 20-foot wide buffer is required along North Hickory, which is a collector street, and the parking lot landscaping is all existing as well, as you can see on the landscape plan. And staff has analyzed this, and it is in compliance with the landscape code sections in the UDC. The building elevations, these are just perspectives. This was already approved with the certificate of zoning compliance and design review. And staff recommends approval with the conditions listed in the staff report, and staff stands for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. The applicant like to come forward, please. Good evening, sir. Need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sam Lametta. I am at 2050 River Knoll Court in Westland, Oregon. Where I live. I'm here to talk about the.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone, please?
I'm here to participate in the CUP hearing for Black Box VR. Super excited. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I sent. Okay, here we go. Just to give a brief overview of the company, our founders, Ryan DeLuca and Preston Lewis, started the company in 2017. They've been operating the company since then and have operated a few gyms, one gym here in Boise downtown area and another gym in San Francisco. We also had pilot gyms out in Arizona and San Diego that we've recently divested in. But what's exciting about this is we have 2 founders from the Idaho area, Boise, Idaho area. They're entrepreneurs. Ryan founded bodybuilding.com back in the late 90s, grew that to a $500 million company and then sold that. And then this is his next venture into virtual reality fitness. Next slide. The problem America is having in the fitness industry is that Americans are not physically active and working out is not fun. So naturally, by human nature, working out is against what we want to do. It's painful, it's hard, and very few people stick with their workout routines, and we're looking to try to solve that problem with our solution. And our solution brings in 3 things that we believe are key to keeping people adhered to it. Number one, entering gaming into the situation, which is has addictive properties. So people actually forget they're working out because they're in a game. They're actually in an arena shooting lightning bolts at the enemy, and the enemy is shooting at you, and you're sending champions in, and it's really just a fun experience. You're doing all that while in virtual reality with the 3D, all immersive headsets on. And so it's a 3D immersive environment, and you're doing it while working out in a cable resistance machine that's electronically controlled by the game. It's electronically controlled by the game. And so what this does is it allows you to get a high intensity workout while basically tricking your mind into playing a game and an addictive nature. It's similar to sports where you really get into something, you don't realize you're exerting that much activity. We've proven over those 5 or so years that we've been operating, it really makes a big difference. People that have experienced this are really into it, and they're really believers in it. And you see the transition in their lives, not just in physical fitness, but in their lives in general. Next slide. We are currently located, like I said, we had a gym in Boise and a gym in San Francisco. We do desire to open this gym in Meridian. And after this will be our flagship gym. We put all our learnings together over the last 5 years into this gym. It is the right size, it's the right location. We believe it's in the densely populated area of our core customers. And so we believe it will be a big success. And we are going to use this as our model gym for future franchisees. And so once we get rolling, I estimate Q1 next year, we'll be entertaining franchisee people to come in and witness this gym. And this will be the template for them to follow as we expand across the US. A little bit of a view in the product. You see on the left, that's our electronically controlled machine. We have our Generation 2 machine being developed right now, and that will be launched with this gym. And it's higher load capability, it's smoother use, and it's quicker responding. We also have we use the Vive Pro 2 headsets. We don't produce the headsets, but we use the best offering today, and we plan to adopt the best technology as it comes into the market. We also have our own app, phone app, where it controls and it tracks all your workout data. It controls all the energy, all the workouts, and your progress over time. And it's a fully functional system that doesn't require any manual input. It's all captured there, every workout electronically. And on the right, you see that the workout environment is you're in a private booth and you're working out in the metaverse. And it's quite an experience. Certainly invite all of you to come and experience it once we open. Next slide. So basically, we've learned from our customers that people enjoy doing this workout. They transform their bodies into something they've never experienced. We get a lot of feedback about how people transform their lives, not just their physical fitness. And the name black box is just that. We have an input and an output, and that black box is the magic that transforms things. Slide. We are very excited to find this site. We've been searching for a site for roughly 4 or 5 months, and we found this site. It's Flex Industrial. It's in the right location. We don't believe our marketing strategy is to have road frontage, which is retail space, which is roughly double the cost in rent. So we believe this is the right sweet spot for us. It's the right square footage, the right cost, and we believe our cost and the parking and all the other things that are there for the community. Slide. Go past this. This is the general layout. So on the right, you see the layout of the building. We have the unit 100, which is over on the left. And then that unit, you can see the illustration on the left. We have 14 booths that are private booths. We have a area in the middle for people to enter in and socialize after workouts. And then we also have at the front kind of a media area for social media for people to take selfies and things like that with the right accent lighting. Next slide. And this is the last slide. It just gives you an illustration of our latest theme drawings. On the left is the exterior signage that we're working to get approved. And then on the right is the gym with our front lobby area and some illustrations of our customers there after and before workouts. So that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have any, excuse me, any questions for the applicant or staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Is that Commissioner Smith or Commissioner Wheeler?
I'll let you guess. I'm just kidding. This is Commissioner Wheeler.
Go right ahead.
One of the things that I noticed in the staff report, and this is for the applicant, something I noticed in the staff report is it said that the hours of operation are between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Is that, are those the hours that you guys are requesting to operate within?
I believe that is. I don't believe we operate our Boise gym that late in the day. But yeah, I believe we submitted the paperwork with that.
Okay.
The opportunity and the idea is to offer people opportunity before and after work and in hours where they have free time to come work out. On those areas where people in work, it is a less usable time. So we have peak times, typically in the typical workout times in the morning and in the.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
a couple questions. So one, did I hear correctly that you said you mentioned you having divested from a couple of locations?
Yeah, part of our journey as a startup company is to figure out what the best business model is for us to expand. And what we learned is that we had a gym partner, EOS Fitness in Arizona, that we partnered with a few years ago. Before I was at the company, I've only been there about a year and a half. And what we learned is that we were out of phase with that business strategy because our brand wasn't recognized yet. So people were going into a gym that was really a low budget gym, and we were trying to upsell them to a premium featured boutique gym. And so it's kind of like the analogy I use is the Starbucks model. Like if Starbucks started out as a boutique coffee shop that really built their brand off their quality product, and then it took, after their brand was recognized, then they started going into the Safeways and to the Fred Meyers. If they would have started going into the grocery stores and asking people to pay $5 for a coffee, they would have not succeeded. So we kind of had that phasing issue where we believe with our franchise model, we'll build the brand, we'll expand across country. Once the brand reaches that critical mass, then you can offer different offerings in a gym inside of a gym type offering. So we decided to delay that type of business model. So we shut down our gyms in the Arizona and the San Diego area for that reason, to focus on the franchise model.
Got it. Thank you. That makes sense. And then a second question, and this is, I mean, maybe it's a little bit more curiosity. I mean, feel free not to answer if I'm probing too deep, but we kind of, I'm sure you're aware of the recent, Apple announcements. Is there any thought of, potentially the value prop of the thing that attracts people to these locations maybe diminishing over time as personal VR kind of gets more affordable, accessible, common?
That's a great question. We hope to both offer this offering, which is a boutique gym offering, and then also stay up with technology as the metaverse and people start to adopt it more readily. There's a lot of benefits to us for that to happen. And so we're, from a headset and a VR experience perspective, just over the past year or so, it's really been a huge strides forward. So we plan to be fast followers on the technology as it develops in the VR world. And then from a interest perspective, we have a long roadmap of technology and things we want to do. And one of them includes in-home unit.
Got it.
So that is on the roadmap, and that's our method of bringing this into a more personalized thing as it becomes more popular. We're thinking the best offering right now for us to offer a unique experience and a kind of a social community feel is this boutique gym model. Now, this is our first in as a startup, and then we'll expand into different business model areas as we go forward.
Makes sense.
That's what's the exciting thing, like the new headset offerings. Almost all of our company was on that video watching that as they were announcing it. We're so excited about it. And so it's not out until, I think, Q2 next year. So we're excited to evaluate that and see if it's applicable to our technology.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. This has been something that's, I've seen these, I've gotten some ads for it, and it's, as someone who has an interest in VR and an interest in fitness, I mean, it's always been something that's, I think this is an interesting concept, and it looks pretty cool. So thank you.
Okay, anything further? Anybody signed up to?
Mr. Chair, there is not.
Anybody want to testify? I don't think so. Okay. Nothing further to add. We'll go ahead and close the public testimony. Thank you. And with that, I will take a motion to close the public testimony for file number H 2023-0022 for Black Box VR.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0022. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries. Public hearing is closed. This is kind of cool. It's nice to see something coming in, again, and we've got quite a few applications that kind of deal with things coming into Meridian. It's good to see something, different, kind of coming in and choosing Meridian to, to kind of help flesh this out and, continue your business model as it goes forward. So wish you the most success with it. It's interesting that it's not going to be kind of retail front. Honestly, I think that's probably a smart move. So one of the traditional gyms that I frequent does that, and they do very well with it. So anybody else or a motion? This one seems pretty straightforward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Lorchuk.
after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2023-0022 as presented the staff report for the hearing date of June 15th, 2023 with no modification.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve file number H 2023-0022 for Black Box VR. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you very much. With that, we will open our last application, H 2023-0018 for 10 Mile Costa Vida, and we'll begin the staff report.
The applicant is here to discuss the 10 Mile Costa Vida. They submitted a conditional use permit. The site consists of 1.43 acres of land zoned CG located at 413 South Innovation Lane. And previous application history is annexation and a development agreement, private streets application. And we actually already just approved a CZC and design review for the site and building. And the flume designation is commercial within the 10 Mile interchange specific use area plan. And the conditional use permit request is for a new approximate 8,815 foot multi-tenant building with a drive-through located within 300 feet of an existing drive-through facility, residential district, and existing residents. The proposed multi-tenant building will include space to accommodate Costa Vida with up to 2 additional tenants upon the completion of the project. The proposed site layout for the multi-tenant facility includes a separate stacking lane that provides queuing for multiple vehicles, which is located before the drive-through window. The drive-through itself starts at the north side of the building and exits at the south, facing South Innovation Lane. However, staff has some safety concerns regarding the entry to the drive-through from the north. At the entrance of the drive-through, vehicles will be entering the drive-through while vehicles are attempting to park or back out of the come and go parking stalls north of the stacking lane. To alleviate some of the staff's concerns, the menu board was moved closer to the pickup window along with the west side of the building to allow ordering to occur away from the parking. Further, staff recommends that the applicant install additional signage and parking lot striping to clearly mark and guide traffic safely throughout the site. Access is proposed on the site plan from South Innovation Lane, which is a private street on the west side of the property, and the collector road to the north, Cobalt Drive. Vehicles accessing the site will enter from the northeast or southeast and have the option to park in the lot in front of the drive-through or proceed northwest along the 12-foot wide drive-through lane. This lane merges with the ordering window and allows for exiting back to the drive aisle in a southeast direction. An escape lane is provided along the west side of the building, which leads to the drive aisle along the south of the building. To improve the traffic flow and minimize confusion, it is recommended that the 50-foot wide entrance on the east side, the northeast side, with the adjacent come and go site should be reduced to 25 feet. Staff recommends the applicant coordinate with the come and go reps on the redesign of this shared driveway. Staff emailed the proposed site plan to the come and go engineers and they are analyzing the request. Additionally, there appeared to be 2 right lane turn only. Staff recommends that one of these lanes be removed to prevent confusion for drivers entering and exiting the site. Prior to certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall record a cross-access egress easement to the adjoining properties to the north and south and submit to the planning division. And direct lot access to 10 Mile Road is prohibited. A minimum of 1 off-street parking space is required per 250 square feet of gross floor area. Based on the 8,850 15 square foot multi-tenant building, a minimum of 35 parking spaces are required. A total of 55 parking spaces are proposed that exceed the UDC standards. A minimum of 1 bicycle parking must be provided for every 25 vehicle spaces. Per the UDC, biking facilities are required to comply with the location and design standards in the UDC. Bicycle parking is shown on the plan submitted with the application that meets the requirements. A detail of the bike racks is provided also on the landscape plan submitted, and it appears to be in compliance with the standard. The proposed plan includes a pedestrian walkway that will run from the northeast of the building across Innovation Lane. Where pedestrian walkways cross vehicle driving surfaces, they are required to be distinguished from vehicular driving surface through the use of pavers, colored or scored concrete or bricks as set forth in the UDC. The site and landscape plan submitted with the certificate of zoning application should reflect the compliance with the standard. The proposed striping of the crosswalk is not an approved material and should be revised to meet the standard. The street buffer along South 10 Mile Road and West Cobalt Drive was constructed with the improvements for the 10 Mile Creek subdivision number 1 for the common area site improvements. Parking lot landscaping is required in the parking lot per the standards of the UDC. The submitted landscape plan appears to be in compliance with the standard. And the conceptual building elevations were submitted for the proposed structure. Building materials consist of EIFS, stucco, metal roof, ribbed metal paneling, wood metal panels, metal awnings, and glazing. The final design is required to comply with the adopted 10 Mile crossing design guidelines. There is no written testimony, and staff is recommending approval with the conditions in the staff report, and staff stands for any questions.
Thank you very much. Will the applicant like to come forward, please? Good evening. Need your name and address for the record, please.
Kyle Cooper, 22503 Lake Life Lane, Caldwell, Idaho. I just want to thank staff and commissioners for allowing us to present the conditional use permit for our new restaurant. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of Costa Vida and Blaze, so we're the local operators and developers for this site. I don't have a whole lot of comments. We're pretty good with all of the recommendations. We're very familiar with the layout. I'm sure most of you guys have been to our Linder and Chinden location, very similar layout. I know one of the comments was the come and go parking on the right-hand side of the building. We have the same situation at Chinden and Linder, and been there 5 years with no incidents yet. So again, pretty familiar with the setup, and with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Right ahead.
Are you the drive-through? Are you going to be the drive-through restaurant or no?
Yeah, so we have the Costa Vidas, which will be the drive-through, and we have the Blaze Pizza, which will be on the other end. So we own both restaurants.
So which one's going to have the drive-through?
Costa Vida.
Okay. So you're not just doing Costa Vida, you're doing Blaze as well?
Correct.
Is that this application? Just Costa Vida, right?
We're just the applications for the drive-through.
Oh, the drive-through. I got you.
So, yep.
So are you not going to operate the one in the middle?
Well, not at this point, right?
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm with you now.
Other commissioners have questions for applicant or staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Wheeler.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question for the applicant here. Some of the concerns that I always have with the drive-throughs is just sometimes a cut through, but it looks like there's there's two exits, one on the east side and one on the south side. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there won't be any problems then with the traffic cutting through up to the north. Okay. That was the main thing that I just have. Sometimes when they go right in front, it can get kind of congested and cluster up some traffic and everything. So That was my biggest concern on there. Is there going to be signage is there going to be good signage there for exits and striping and everything?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say good signage for exits and signage or striping.
Yeah, we'll have great signage. We've been in the drive-through business for 20+ years, so we like to move people quickly and efficiently through the site. So yeah, it'll be well marked.
Very good.
Mr. Smith, do you have anything?
Mr. Chair, not this time.
There's nobody left in here. Ma'am, would you like to come up and testify at all? No, okay. There's nothing further to add. There's no other questions. Thank you very much. And I'll take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0018, 10 Mile Costa Vida.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2023-0018. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Public hearing is closed. So thank you, staff, for the recommendations on this. I think that'll actually help improve kind of traffic flow and avoid any confusion in that area. It gets a little crazy when there's all this, when there's that many altogether. So I do go to the facilities there and at Chinden and Linder, and sometimes it gets a little hectic in that area for sure. So, but glad to see more, more businesses, different kinds of businesses starting to operate in here. So happy to see that happening here as well, where it can handle not only local traffic, but some of the, the traffic coming off the freeway as well.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Wheeler, go ahead.
Yes, I'm kind of pleased with this application. Also, I like the fact that there is no direct access onto 10 Mile. And as an overall thing, I'm kind of excited about a lot of the items that were on the agenda tonight, or that are on the agenda tonight. It just shows a lot of smart growth opportunities. So I'm in support of this one.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Orchard, go ahead.
After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2023-0018 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 15th, 2023, with no modification.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve file number H 2023-0018, 10 Mile Costa Vida. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Man, Commissioner Orchard, you've been making all the motions tonight. What the heck?
I was going to say, Commissioner Wheeler, you want to make the last one?
I can't see you.
I know. I'm just kidding. When you're in present, it's just simpler. So that's literally just a joke. But yes, I'll finally take one away from Commissioner Orchard here and actually make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.